Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Resident Rulebreakers. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Cleo.
And on this week's episode, we're discussing episode 302, which is called Flesh of My Flesh. It was written by Elizabeth Klaviter, and so I just want to give her credit for writing the episode. We chose this one because of a very important event in Connick's relationship, but it has a lot of other stuff in it as well, so...
It's not very Connick-centered.
It's not, but there is one important part of their relationship that was integral to the entire plot of the show, and that's why we chose this. But before we get into that... we obviously haven't heard of Renewal, which is the thing that's making the fandom go a little crazy. Especially with all these articles coming out. Like, this week they put out the article about the fall lineup, and obviously all scripted shows are going to midseason. Even ones that have these phenomenal higher ratings, like 911. So...
Yeah. Well, nobody is filming for a while, so...
Yeah, no one...
Usually they would have been started filming in, like, June or something?
July. They film right after the July the 4th, so right after Independence Day.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to do that. So, but the fact is, TV Line, they're usually spot on their renewal prospects, and it says it's so sure bet. So, I'm going to go with that scenario.
Well, a lot of pilots didn't get to finish filming, so because of lack of pilots, the likelihood of many shows being renewed is very high. You know, because there's not enough shows to replace them if they cancel. You know.
Yep, that too. So we're still looking at that, but this week Amy put up a post on her Instagram, and it was of outside the Fox lot in LA of a banner for the resident, and it's thanking the frontline workers for working during the virus and everything. And obviously it's got Connick on it. And I'm sitting here thinking...
And also Matt is doing some kind of speech for medical students graduating from medical college. I saw that posted.
Yeah, I actually got that from Matt Zuckery fan site, so...
Yeah. So, he's gonna be like... Well, a lot of actors who, I guess, play TV doctors or whatever, they are doing that for medical students who are graduating this year. So, and Matt was one of those people. How awesome is that? Like,
that's pretty awesome.
That's so cool.
But I did want to point out that the banner of, like, Fox obviously has... They're printed a banner and hung it outside their lot. They wouldn't do that if they were planning on especially for a show they're planning on canceling.
Yeah.
I did want to point that out. Recently, on Saturday, we recorded Steven's interview, and it was phenomenal. It releases on June 1st, and we are very excited for you to see it, listen to it. Steven gave us almost 2 hours, and we're so grateful. Thank you, Steven. Steven Reddington is who we're talking about.
He played Dr. Bradley Jenkins, and you guys, it was a phenomenal interview. It was really great. Steven opened up to us a lot about, you know, his life and stuff. Open to pretty much any questions that we asked. there was nothing that was, you know, rejected or whatever.
Yeah. So that it will release on June 1st, so look for that. And we are interviewing Amy on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we are very excited to get an hour of her time to talk to her about The Resident. So that will release on June 8th. So it's got some time before you'll get to hear these interviews, but we're very excited to get to do this. So there's that. Also, we have a big week for Matt. His birthday, his 43rd birthday, is this week. It is Wednesday, the 20th.
That is just so weird to think that he's 43.
Okay, he is 12 years older than me.
I know, he does not look 43 at all.
No. So, we're very excited. Look for our post on Instagram for that. So, we're just going to jump right in to our episode discussion, which is for Flesh of My Flesh. It's the month of Conic. We only chose this episode because of a plot line for Conrad and Nick, and there's not much Conic in this episode.
I know. When I watched the episode, I was like, okay, so really, we picked this up episode for like the book ending, because that was the book, like the beginning and the end, because everything else was no Conic at all.
The opening scene is Conrad and Nick are in Conrad's old apartment, and they're talking about moving in together. And obviously Conrad's like, you can move in here, we could go to your place, and Nick's like, no, I want to start over, because they had just gotten back together, and Jesse died, and so just a lot of that stuff. And so it was a way for them to start over healthy.
Yeah. Yes.
And so there was, I loved it, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how does this house in Atlanta go back on the market twice in the same year? I mean, it has to be like sheer luck or something.
Yeah.
Because it's a beautiful house. It really is.
It is.
But at the end of the episode, Nick obviously surprises Conrad with the house that he showed her in Fear Finds a Way, which is episode 212.
Yeah. It's a nice house and stuff. But then it's hilarious because they showed where Conrad was saying, I want chickens. That's all. Like wherever we go, we want chickens. So that's what Nick took him to the backyard to show him that he got his chickens.
Yeah. So Conrad gets his chickens, and like I said last week, that was one of the things that was on their whiteboard in the writer's room for the plot line for this episode was Conrad gets his chickens.
Yeah, it was the top box of the. It's like Conrad and Nick moved to the house and gets his chickens. I was like, hey, at least the writers know how important that was.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't that, like I said, we chose this episode mainly because of this plot point. So, but for the rest of this podcast, we are not going to be discussing Conic.
But there wasn't anything else.
There wasn't anything, no. But, so, the next major plot arc for this episode was AJ and his bio dad.
Yes, played by David Allen Greer.
Yes.
Like, comedic genius, legend, whatever. He's so funny. I love that guy.
So we were excited to see the storyline for AJ. I was like, oh my god, they're going to really go there, So I was like, oh yes, good. But I loved the first time that Lamar, that's his dad's name, comes up to AJ, and AJ's sitting there, and I love Malcolm's performance. I just love it.
Yeah.
But AJ's sitting there with the donut, and he's like talking to it like it's a delicacy or something.
Oh yeah, it was like, whew, yeah, he had the cover for it and everything, and they pulled it open.
Like he's in a fancy restaurant.
Being very extra. But yeah. I made note that, AJ also said this in the episode that Lamar has his voice and the way he walks and everything else. The other thing that I made note of is that Lamar I guess works with cars. It's like some kind of mechanic. And he was talking about how these hands fix cars and stuff like that. And it reminded me of the season 1 scene with Shawnette, with Mina, where she's lying down and AJ has his hands up like this, and he's like, these hands like cure life or whatever, fix hearts or whatever. So it's like
we just talked about that episode not too long ago.
Yeah, it's like the same kind of movement, same kind of like hand movement, same kind of like voice, and they're both so proud of the way their hands fix things and work and stuff like that. And it's like so similar in that sense, you know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, the acting was just so spot on. I don't know, how long in advance Malcolm and David got to talk to each other prior to filming, but it was just so like, wow, this is where AJ gets all his stuff from. This is where it comes from.
Yeah, they very much like their attitudes are the same. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It kind of like brings up the nature versus nurture thing, because their diction, their movement is so similar.
Yeah, very much so. But AJ's sitting there going, you're my egg donor, sperm donor. I have nothing else to say to you. It's a very cold way to look at it, I guess.
But I mean, I kind of understand though why his anger. I mean, this is like a stranger to him. Mm-hmm. You don't call like he's not your dad. He's the guy who sperm donor, but like the dad is. The Chinese guy who raised you or whatever, played by Michael Chow, which who we meet later in another season, in another episode. I love AJ's parents. AJ's parents are so hilarious, especially his dad. But Lamar isn't his dad.
No, he's his biological father, or like AJ says, his egg donor's sperm donor.
Yeah, that's still cold, but still.
Yeah. But Lamar comes in, and he's like, I'm dying, and it's genetic, and I think it was really just a way to get AJ's attention more than anything else.
Also, he wasn't sure that AJ was really his son, so this was also his way of like checking it. But like it hurt AJ, to realizing that, he was there. He wasn't sure. He was like, I knew from the moment I met you, and you're questioning it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that hurt. I felt the pain in that dialogue.
Yes. You could hear it in his voice and the way he moved and his facial expressions. I mean, just everything. It was amazing. And like Lamar's like demanding AJ respect him or something, and I'm like, you gotta earn this respect. You can't just say respect me. I'm your dad. No, the man that has AJ's respect is his.
Yeah, the respect is earned, and like all that AJ knew about him at that point was that he's his dad's bio father or whatever, and they gave him up, but married the mom and had 3 more kids. So it's like, that learning that must have hurt AJ, that his parents stayed together and kept more kids afterwards. Like, hey, what about me? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which he did mention later in the episode. I put it on my notes that it was really touching when he went there. He was like, I was wanted to be successful. I wanted to I overdid a lot of things. I aced in spelling bees. Everything that I did, I aced. It was all to try to get your attention, like to try to make you realize that if I'm special, like, maybe you should have kept me or whatever. And Lamar said to him, "You did," or something like that. It was such a touching thing, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But in the episode, Conrad is the one that checks AJ for this genetic abnormality, which I feel like AJ doesn't have. But I loved because Conrad's going through stuff with his father at this point in time too. His dad had just had surgery, he just had surgery, and they had just finally reconciled and everything. So he's like, just take it from me that maybe you should listen to him. Maybe he has changed. And because we just talked about that scene where Conrad's like, maybe you have changed. We just talked about that last week. So I love the Conrad giving advice to deal with Dad, or to deal with this scenario. So I loved that. But AJ was like, he was like, your dad raised you, okay? You were there. He was there. This man has no clue who I am except for the fact that I'm his son.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even believe that partly. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was like, at least he, was there for you.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like, it was a good contrast to those two storylines. But I really love this storyline. I love how they introduced it.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if David actually have watched The Resident before this, because he just copied AJ so well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like he must have seen some episodes of The Resident.
I was just gonna say, it was so mirror almost. I just really loved how well it was done.
Yeah, that's why I wonder if David actually watched the show, because he's so spot on with his movements and talking and stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah.
And then of course, Conrad diagnoses Lamar with emphysema after he collapsed, yelling at AJ.
Yeah. Like, say...
But I was just like, and then they're like, oh, we need to do surgery, whatever. And AJ's like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm too emotionally attached. And, Mina's like, yeah, this is, that's what you told me. Don't do something if you have an emotional attachment to it or whatever. But Conrad's like, no, you're the one that needs to do it because we're dealing with Red Rock and they might kill him.
Yeah. Mina had talked to AJ, talking about how, like, you told me that I should do surgery if there was a kind of emotional attachment to the patient, which is again in reference to Micah from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, are you telling me that you're a hypocrite now or whatever? And I mean, like, I get it that AJ was the best cardiothoracic surgeon in the hospital and the only one that can be trusted or whatever. But he should not have operated on his dad. That's a big no. No matter what, even if you don't think of him as your dad or whatever, it's a rule. It's a big rule that you don't operate on your family or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just like, when they were scrubbing in for the surgery, AJ just looks at me and goes, I know that I'm trying to deal with this emotional aspect of things, but I know you're going to be there, and I just really love that he was like, I trust you. And I was just like, that is just amazing, you know, that he trusts Mina that much. And again, the Minotaur in Shiver and me was like, that's amazing, you know, that they have this amazing partnership where they can lean on each other for this.
Yeah.
So I really loved that. And then, of course, Lamar wakes up at the very last scene of the episode. He wakes up, and AJ's just really cold to him after all this said and done. But the only thing he says is he praises Bio Mom, which we meet in a later episode.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Lamar wants him to meet her, which obviously we do get to see that. But Lamar praises her and says she would have never messed up things like I did with this. So, it's just, wow. But yeah, it's a very, it just drops a lot of AJ's backstory right on top of you.
Yeah.
It's a good episode. I love the acting from Malcolm. He just did a phenomenal job.
Yes.
And, you know, everyone always does a phenomenal job on their acting on this show. But, you know, this is a big plot. And so, very, very amazing. And then, obviously, there's the next plot line in the episode was the Dawn Long story. This introduced her.
Yes.
And,
Mother of All Surgeries.
Yeah, and we finally, this is the second episode with Morris in it. So this is the second time we get to see Kane. And Kane is still a jackass. He's got this huge God complex, and, you know, Kit calls him out on it, obviously, and it's like, amazing. But, you know, Belle's trying to get publicity, and he tries to do this twin separation, and it falls through, and so and Kane goes behind his back and goes and gets the Mother of All Surgeries, and he's mad. Belle's like, you know that this can't happen. You know this doesn't work. You have to go through me or whatever. But Kane's like, I'm just going to twist your arm and say, you want publicity? Here, help me. Just like, Belle can't turn that off, you know?
Yeah.
Part of
that, first of all, Montel Williams guest starred on this show. Mm-hmm. Hello. That was...
yeah. It's a very big cameo for Montel Williams for this episode.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then, Dawn has like 7 kids that looks to be, some of them looks to be have been disabled or something, who were fostered that she adopted eventually. She started off with a cancer in her appendix that then spread all over her organs or whatever. Kit was totally against the surgery because because it's impossible. You know, it's very impossible. And she tried to rehearse the surgery. We saw that with her spinal cord and stuff like that. And
you know, Devon's very interested. He's like, what are you doing here? And what are you doing here? I really loved that, you know, we had these scenes with Devon and Kit, and, you know, because in this episode, Devon's on a rotation for oncology, so you get to see another side of Devon that you don't normally see when he's in the ER.
Yeah.
And so, that's pretty cool.
When beginning of the episode, when they were talking about, you know, him starting the oncology rotation, I could think of as Lane Hunter.
And he did actually mention Lane Hunter in the episode. He's like, and then Lane Hunter happened.
Yeah.
So.
Like, he won. Yeah. So, but, yeah, one thing that I'm also binge watching Grey's Anatomy from the very beginning, and they had like George's dad. And I just finished the episode with George's dad not long after watching this episode, and they did like a very invasive surgery on George's dad as well.
similar to John Long. Both episodes came out, had the question of like, when is too much? You know what I mean? Like, when do you cross? When are you gonna cross? Where's the line that you're gonna cross? You know what I mean? Like, where is it where, like, you're hurting the patient more than helping the patient? You get what I'm saying?
And in this case, it really, Dawn never woke up. So
yes, same what Georgia said, but it was like both patients, both Georgia said and Dawn Long, they both were asking the doctors to do all they can with the tumors or whatever for their kids, so for their family, because they wanted to spend as much time as they could for their family. And I feel like if I was the patient or whatever, I would ask them to not do the invasive, because yes, I probably will die sooner or later, but I'd rather live however long with my family. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have that time well spent with family, not just,
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want to spend the last parts of my life unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just loved Kit. Like, the reason she finally caved to all this was Dawn. She was like, I've got to help any way I can, no matter all the odds at this point, to help this poor woman.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is Kit. She's patient-centric. She loves her patients. She does stuff for them. It's not about the money. And that is the contrast of Kit and Kane.
Yes.
From the get-go, that's the one thing they pointed out between Kit and Kane was that scenario. But the surgery scene really just, by the time we already see it, they're already 8 hours into surgery.
Yeah.
That's a long surgery. I mean, I spend 8 hours at work, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Okay, so 8 hours into surgery, and the surgery was actually 17 hours long. They were not even halfway into surgery. And Kane just walks in halfway through and does a little thing and leaves. I'm like, such a jerk. Belle and Kit did pretty much everything. And Kane takes all the credit. I'm like, that's so bad.
Yeah.
So, but, whatever. But, Kit actually was successful in getting out the one thing that she had trouble with when she practiced, so.
Yeah, what's that called? The spinal tumor or something.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love her confronting Kane. I just loved it. She was giving him so much crap.
Yeah, because she invited both Belle and Kane to rehearse with her, but neither of them showed up.
I think Belle now, after he's gone through more development through this course of this current season, probably would have. The Belle that we get in this episode is still not as developed. So,
yeah.
He definitely changed in the course of 19 episodes. So, yeah, I was just like, wow. And, of course, because we just talked about it when we talked about the season 3 finale was, the Canada Oris and the vet farm and the...
This is the beginning of the whole storyline.
Yeah.
The Canada Oris, with her and stuff, with Don Long and stuff. It's just, I feel so bad for her kids. Like, they were sold false hope. They were sold, like this whole storyline that, their mom will survive and will be okay, etc., etc., but she didn't end up okay, and she didn't end up surviving, so it just sucks for them.
Yes, it does. Especially the oldest is obviously college age.
Yeah.
And now she's pretty much the mom.
Yeah.
You know, she's taking up the mom role of those 6 other kids and stuff. So sad.
But, Devon, I mentioned this already, he was on an oncology rotation. Every resident does rotations.
Yep.
And Devon, from the pilot on, and this is a continuation of him liking the oncology route and everything, even with everything that happened with Hunter, he was still like, okay, and Mina takes advantage of Devon working the rotation, and we're gonna get to that in a moment. But I was just like,
with Adaku.
With Adaku, yeah. But the funny thing about all this plotline is Irving's like, I don't like it. I need you here in the ER.
Yeah.
So,
I do think that that's what Devon will choose as his specialty is traumatic surgery or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've got a long ways to go, hopefully.
Yeah, for that. Usually residency is 7 years or something like that for surgeons. But if he's just but yeah, I can't wait to see how he Devon's specialty.
Yeah.
How he'll grow as a doctor.
It'll be he's already grown so much in 3 seasons. It's pretty amazing. And with Conrad's help, with Irving's help, with all of them. Yeah. So the next one is Nick trying to blackmail Belle into reopening her clinic. And, this is the 2nd episode into the season. Nick's still battling the death of her sister.
Yeah.
She's grieving, and, Mina even says, is this the stage of grief where you're breaking in her?
Breaking and entering. Yeah.
But, Mina's all for her, reopening the clinic, and Mina's like, yay, cool. But, then she's gone. She's out helping AJ, and she's off helping Adaku, and Mina was everywhere in this episode. But, they're trying to shut her down because it's not profitable. And Nick's like, look, if you want to stay a nonprofit, you're going to need a free clinic.
Yes.
And I loved the free clinic storyline. I've always loved the free clinic storyline. I think there are good things for people who are not insured, underinsured, don't have any money, and the only way they can get health care is to go to a free clinic.
Yep.
So I loved the fact that they touched on it. And in the end, Nick blackmails Belle with Montel Williams in a publicity story.
Montel Williams' help.
Montel Williams' help, and gets her clinic. So
yeah. Belle's face when he saw her talking to Montel was so funny. He looked pissed.
He's like, "Dang you, Nick." Dang.
Yeah.
But she got it. I want to see more clinic stuff. I really do. The clinic's Nick's baby. Her other baby.
Yeah. But she doesn't have a baby yet.
Well, when she gets one, it'll be her. Well, she has Conrad, I guess. The chickens.
Yes.
Anyway, then there's a plot, obviously, where we've already hinted on Mina and Adaku. And Adaku, obviously, from 216, which was the episode with Nina's mother, called Queens, where Mina's mother comes in and she operates on Adaku for her breast cancer.
Yeah.
Well, in this episode, Adaku tells Mina she's pregnant.
Yes.
And I didn't know where they were going to go with the storyline. Obviously, I was a little, concerned, because it kind of, for me, it was what are they trying to do to Mina,
Yeah.
A lot of people were a little iffy on it. I know that fact.
Well, one thing that I took a major note on is Mina mentioning genetic testing the embryos and choosing one that is that doesn't have the BRCA gene, and Michelle's choice not to do the testing. And I like their discussion about like God and crossing the line and stuff like that.
I actually have a note in here that says, Mina and Adaku literally fight over this, because it's, Adaku's like, I'm not going to play God.
Right.
Because it's she's got, obviously her religious belief is that, God will watch over me, God will take care of me. And Mina's like, but this is medicine. This is the facts and this is it. They contradict each other quite a bit.
It's sort of God versus science, religion versus science discussion. It played a very small role on this show, on this episode, but I feel like it could be brought on more in The Resident. I feel like it is a discussion that a lot of, where does science cross the line to, be like genetically superior or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, now you can choose, like, with all the DNA testing with embryos and stuff like that, you could choose a baby that will have blonde hair and blue eyes or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. With the embryos, because you let's say you want that, then you go, okay, but this baby has the DNA for that, so let's do that one. You know what I mean? It's like, that is in a way like playing God. It's like, that's not cool. But also at the same time, I understand, like, for health reasons, you would want a child who's not gonna have the genetic predisposition for cancer or whatever.
I felt for her, but if I obviously at this point, Adaku doesn't have cancer, so. And at the end, they did make up, and they decided working on a baby registry, even though Mina thought it was disgusting. Mina's like,
well, we know eventually she's gonna be taking care of.
The baby's name is Michelle.
Yeah, and she's also Michelle's godmother.
Mm-hmm, she is. So I was just like, it really, like, for Mina, it was like, came full circle where she really got the taste of some form of motherhood, and I really think they put this in to start softening Mina up.
Yep.
Because obviously we're still going to have this no-nonsense part of her, but she's been very rough around the edges, and she's starting to show emotions, she's starting to develop, and Mina's a well-developed character. I think part of it was because of what happened with her friend, with her mother, with AJ, all of it, and it's just really helped her develop.
Yeah.
So some people didn't like it, but I really loved how this plot line really softened Mina in many ways. So that's really all the plot lines in this episode. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope. Not really.
All right. Well, the next podcast we have, celebrating our month of Conic, this is the last podcast in month of Conic, is a very special Conic episode called Reverse Cinderella, episode 316, and it is the Conic proposal.
Yes.
Also the Feldmore proposal.
It's all about love.
It's all about love. Even with Devon's storyline in that episode, you're like, oh, him and the princess.
Yeah.
So.
Princess.
So that is next week. Obviously, again, Stephen Reddington's interview will release on the 1st. Amy's will release on the 8th. And I will have video on YouTube for Stephen, for sure. But we do have audio only releasing as well for Stephen. Audio will always release no matter what. And so I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, so to contact us, email theresidentRulebreakers@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can always email us a question or an idea or an episode you want us to cover. We ask for birthday stuff for cast members. That's where it goes.
Yep.
And Instagram, The Resident Podcast. So that's our podcast Instagram. Sorry. Camille's Instagram is The Resident on Fox Fans. Mine is KB Country 37. And then there's Facebook, the Facebook group, which is The Resident Fox Fans.
Yes.
And of course, we are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So subscribe. That way you can not ever miss an episode, especially with these interviews coming up.
Yes.
Until next week, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.